Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unleash Her. I'm Roberta, your host for today's podcast. And I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, hold on, Jessica. We're starting again. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unleash Her. In case you don't know me, I'm Roberta, and I'm your host for today's podcast. And I'm so glad that you're here. This is where we empower women to heal from within and embrace their authenticity while creating extraordinary lives. And today, I have a very special guest for you, a very dear friend of mine, Miss Jessica West. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Roberta. How are you?
I am so good. How are you?
I'm so good. So happy to be here with you. I love like every time we have our conversations. So thank you for having me here.
Oh, thank you for being here. Okay, so Jessica and I met a few years ago in personal development, and you have helped me so much. Thank you.
We've
And
been
I,
helping each other. So
yeah.
yeah, I
Oh
really
my
appreciate it.
goodness. It's such a good journey watching you. And I would love for you to tell people your story, give a little background of how you ended up where you're at today.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to. Thank you. So let's see. How far back should I go? I'll start about like probably in high school. I think those are the years where a lot of people end up losing a little bit of their self-confidence. We just want to fit in with everybody. And so we kind of just shape shift ourselves to whatever, we think that people want us to be. And so I had lost a lot of my self-worth, self-confidence. I had a lot of self-doubt growing up, but we don't know what we don't know. So I just kind of lived that way, thinking that this is just life. I just, wasn't one of the lucky ones. Like, this is just it. I'm just gonna, put up with it and keep living. And so my life was good, don't get me wrong, but like I always had these inner critics, these inner self-doubts, like stopping me from really doing things that lit me up and made me happy. And then fast forward in 2015, when I was 23, I was in a severe car accident and I wasn't expected to survive the next 3 days. I was put into an induced coma where I stayed there for, I was in a
Mhm.
coma for about a day and a half. And then when I woke up from the coma, my idea of life had completely changed. My experience itself in the coma brought me a lot of realizations. And, when I woke up and I was given all kinds of diagnoses, I had a severe traumatic brain injury, broken neck, broken pelvis in 3 areas. And I was told that I likely would never return to work full time. I would likely be dependent for the rest of my life. So I wouldn't return to school. And with all that, good luck with social life. And I was having that moment one day in my hospital bed with all of that. There was one day where all the guests had left. And so it was just me sitting in my hospital bed, looking out the window, starting to have that final moment that we hear so many people have when they're facing death and when they're thinking of, all of the regrets, the things that they wish they would have done in life while they had the time to do it. I was having that moment, not because my life was in any physical danger anymore, but because, again, the life that I had lived up until that point had come to an end. I was ready to be dependent for the rest of my life, not being able to live independently or go back to work or maintain a social life. And so I remember thinking to myself, why didn't I take that chance? Why didn't I just do the things that I would have loved to do while I had the chance to do it? Why didn't I just believe in myself? And it was in that moment that I really realized that our thoughts are our own limits. The only real limits we face most often in life are the ones that we accept in our own minds. And that one moment kind of granted me freedom to really start to decide where I wanted to take my recovery, but where I wanted to take the rest of my life and what I really wanted to do. It was this sense of almost liberation that I can do what it is that I want to do, what really lights me up, because the only real challenge that I have, the only real limitation that I'm facing is the one in my mind, is my own thoughts. And I have complete and total control of what I want to bring into my life and bring into my mind. And so from that moment, I just wanted to learn all that I could about the mind, about myself. I went on this path of self-discovery, launched into personal development, where I met you, Roberta, got a number of certifications, started learning about the subconscious mind so that I can help people really start to shift those beliefs within themselves. So it's a long introduction, but ultimately that led me to being the empowerment coach that I am today, and really just helping people lift their own limiting thinking so that they can live the life that they really want to while they're here.
Okay, so I have to say a couple of things. First of all, you
Yeah.
make it sound so easy.
Okay.
She's like, "Well, it wasn't
Yeah.
really always that easy, right?"
No, no, not at all. I give a great
Yeah.
little summary of it
Yeah.
all. Yeah, it wasn't easy at
Yeah.
all when I think about it in retrospect, but there was a lot of, yeah, a lot of challenges, and even I want to preface, because even saying that, um, now I have this new mindset of knowing that we set our own limits, right? It's all coming from our mind. Now, that
Yeah.
gave me a great sense of liberation, but it's not to say that I don't have any self-doubt anymore. It's not to say that there are still aspects of my life that I'm like, can I really do that? Like, do I
Yeah.
totally fully believe in myself? Because it's going to be a continuous journey. What I have now is tools to be able to
Yeah.
overcome those thoughts and those
Yeah.
limitations that I've created in my own life, but they're still there. And so the challenges were still very real. I like to think that I have this gift just to overlook at, the
Yeah.
positive umbrella that I want to create in my life, as opposed to the little moments of hardship, taking like that overall perspective.
So I'm curious, and I'm sure
Mhm.
everyone else is too, but what could you give us some of the tools that you use, like when you are dealt with contrast and you're in that law of rhythm and you're kind of like at your lows. What do you do to get yourself back up?
Mhm. A lot of it is, I mean, first and foremost, self-awareness. It starts with the self-awareness
Mhm.
and recognizing, because when you're talking about the law of rhythm, when we're
Yeah.
stuck in that rhythm, we don't even know that we're in a rhythm. We don't even know that we're in this cycle. I talk a lot about self-image, which is the belief that we have of ourselves. And when we have a belief, we're not aware of the belief. That's why it's a belief. So we don't actually know. And it isn't until we allow ourselves to take that pause and start getting that self-awareness and starting to ask ourselves questions. Why do I behave like this? Why do I feel this way? Why am I thinking this way? Where could this come from? Where does this stem from? Right? When we really start to look at our life and asking ourselves those questions, then we can start identifying those beliefs, identifying those patterns. And then once we have that, then we can really start working towards it. There's a lot of subconscious reprogramming techniques that we can then get into to start shifting those and creating beliefs that serve us instead. And so even when you're facing the contrast, it's just really taking that step back to really look at
Mhm.
everything and think, okay, how can I shift my perspective of this to be able to move forward?
Oh, so beautifully said. Oh my gosh. Okay. Because what will happen with me is I'll be like, okay, so first of all, be aware. Okay. Yes. Like,
Mhm,
oh,
mhm,
like, why did this happen? Why did this come into my life? Why is this happening? Instead of being like mad and upset, you take that step back and you look at it in a different way. And you're like, oh, maybe I was supposed to learn a little lesson here.
mhm. Yes. And
Right?
when you start looking at that, it just adds a sense of acceptance to everything in your life. And I think that's why, I mean, one of the tools that I absolutely love is EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique. If anybody's
Yeah.
familiar with it, where you're tapping on certain meridian points within your body to shift the negative feelings and welcome in something desirable. And it's just the state of acceptance. Like, one of the things, the intention setting statement that we say with EFT
Mhm.
tapping is, no matter how I'm feeling right now, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And I think it's with that accepting, and when you can just look at what's happening and just accept it for what it is, you're that much better able to move beyond it, to shift your perspective, because you're not holding on to that resistance anymore. Nothing could move when you're holding on to resistance. You're not allowing the energy to flow through you. But when you can just look at it and accept and be like, yeah, this is how I'm feeling right now. What can I do about it? Like what needs to happen? Then we're just allowing ourselves to move through it that much freer and easier.
I love that. I saw this on like a documentary and I've never tried it myself, but now I'm going to have to. And can you tell us, like, how did you learn how to do that? Is something that anybody can do?
EFT tapping?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there you can find tons of resources online for it.
Mhm.
I started it a few years ago, finding tapping meditations, and there's this great app called oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget about it. Um, it might just be
Sorry, I put her on the
the
spot.
tapping. Yeah, you put me on the spot. No, it's all good. But I really want to let you all know about this
Okay,
app
thank
because it's
you.
really good. I loved it. It's with Nick
Yes.
Ortner. Let me see. Oh,
Okay.
tapping solution. So it's an app on your phone and you can tap on almost anything. Like really the philosophy with EFT tapping is try it on anything because you're just
Yeah.
shifting around the energy. And so it's incredible. You can do it. Anybody can do it. It's making me think now that I'd love to offer your audience. I do have a free tapping recording that I love to offer. It's really to
Yes.
help boost creative confidence. Our creative confidence being that we are all the creator of our life. And when we have the confidence to recognize our creative power in our own life, then we can really start shifting things and shifting our life towards what we want and towards our desires. And so I'd love to be able to offer that. But yeah, anybody could do it. And I highly encourage you to do it. I think it's especially good for people who maybe have a hard time meditating
Yeah.
because you're not just simply sitting there. It is a meditation. You're incorporating positive
Mhm.
I am statements, but you're also doing the somatic healing and tapping. So you're almost like keeping your conscious mind busy while tapping on your body. So you're doing that movement while meditating and doing positive affirmations. It's a perfect trio.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Okay, anyone listening to this, you are listening to this for a reason. This has been brought to you, and I'm speaking for myself too. I've watched this and I know about it, but I have never done it myself. Okay, I'm
Okay.
not mad at myself right now, but I'm kind of like, oh, this was brought into our lives for a reason. And I think that it's something that we need to take a look at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was
Absolutely.
it difficult
Yeah.
getting started with that? I'm very curious.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. Like as soon as I actually,
Yeah.
when did I had, you know what, I'm gonna go back. So I first heard of it when I was so I used to host a support group for other brain injury survivors. And we had brought in a guest speaker one time, and she was an EFT tapping, that was her profession. And so she had taken us through an EFT, and that was when I first became aware of it. And then I just took that and was like, what? I want to do more of that. So I Googled it immediately and started to incorporate that into my daily practice.
Amazing. So and you're tapping on certain nerves? Is that?
Yeah, it's like the acupressure points.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You'll, everyone can do their little research
Yes.
now. And I appreciate that so much because I don't really hear much about that. And so
Hmm.
it's something that I am going to try
Great.
today
Yeah,
because
I'm
I
excited for
know
it.
that there's a reason that you told us about this. And so Jessica and I met, I was on a call and I spoke up and was talking about my daughter's accident. So my daughter was hit by a car 5 years ago and suffered a traumatic brain injury. And so Jessica reached right on out to me. And after that, I mean, we became friends instantly. And it's just been such a journey. And I know, wow, I'm just so amazed by you because that was a recovery. I mean, it's
Mhm.
not just you get out of the hospital and you're like, okay, everything's good. You look
Mhm.
fine. right? Go
Right.
on with your life. Yeah. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so impressed by you. And you know how important nutrition is. And what else do you have? You were making kombucha. Do you do that
Yes.
still?
I do. I do it
Okay.
homebrew. So, um, I did build a company where I started brewing it commercially and I started distributing it I had gotten to a point where I had 24 stores in Northeastern Ontario. So I was delivering at a radius of about 4 hours around from my home, delivering my kombucha, but I have since scaled back. But I still brew
Yeah.
it myself at home. It's
Okay.
something that I'm always going to do because I think there's so many benefits to the product and I love it. I'm not an alcohol drinker at all. And so kombucha is like my
Mhm.
alternative, my, fancy alternative for that whenever I go out with friends. And so
Yeah.
that's something. You mentioned diet.
Mhm.
I followed a plant-based diet for the past 10 years now. And so that was always something that I had. I mean, as soon as I had woken up from the hospital and gotten enough, conscious awareness again, I think probably about like 3 weeks in, I started even telling my family, like, start bringing me my superfoods. Like I started having like the protein shakes and the vitamins and all of that, the goji berries, all of the superfoods. I
Yeah.
remember even some of the earlier parts, walking
Mm.
into the lunchroom in the hospital and having my yogurt and putting in my chia seeds, and all of the other people there would like, what are you doing? And so it was like educating the other, the other patients on like nutrition. And so that was always something really big for me. And then it was a lot of
Yeah.
mindfulness, right? Meditation, journaling, a lot of that self-reflection, and really monitoring the things that I was saying in my head and monitoring what I allowed to come into my head as well.
Yeah. S- so at first it's kind of like it takes a little bit longer and then right? And then you're like, "Wait, no. Now I notice it quicker." Is that kind of how you happened with you? And did you have a good support team or are you just like Wonder Woman?
Yeah. No, I had an amazing, amazing support team. Um, I'm in a small community as well. So the accident itself, I had stayed in the hospital. I was 3 hours away because my community didn't have the facilities to be able to treat my injuries. So I was brought to another hospital and then I came back home. But I had worked with a case manager. And so she made sure that I had like a big team of support with me. And so she communicated with everybody. And so my physio, and then I had an occupational therapist, and then I had a recreational therapist. Like I had, I went to acupuncture, social work, like all of that. And she was in charge of communicating with everybody to make sure like we're all working to support her. And then again, it's a small community, so everybody kind of like knew each other, and it was really great. So I did have like that really strong support system. And then I was also, I lived with my mom. I had to move back in with my mom for the first part because again, I was a
Mhm.
dependent at the time, when being discharged from the hospital. So my family supported me as well. And then I got out into the community. And so one thing, I used to attend a plant-based group. It was like a group on Meetup. I don't know if it's still a thing anymore, meetup.com. But anyways,
Okay.
I had met a
Yeah.
vegan group in one of my previous communities when I was living in Western Canada. And then when I moved back to Timmins, I had moved back to Northern Ontario a week and a half before my car accident. All right. So it was just fresh. But I really miss that. I miss being able to connect with people who, had similar values and
Mhm.
had, shared the same diet as me. And so I started building my own community with the support of my family and again, my team. I went out, put posters up in town and started like growing my own vegan community here locally and creating like regular monthly meetups and everything. And so that allowed me to still maintain a social life and feel good doing that because I was leading this group, but I had a whole team behind me of like people encouraging me. And so, yeah, I definitely did not, it was not a one woman recovery for sure.
Wow. But you are a tough girl. I got to tell you that. And being in the hospital too, all you have at that point is your mind,
Mhm.
you know. And so before your accident, did you study like personal development? Were you into
I had
that?
I had just started to get into it.
Okay.
Honestly, Roberta, that's why like I've been doing more thinking about it and like the timing of everything, like the
Yeah.
series of events. I've been doing more so of that now. I mean, it's incredible.
Hmm.
I had my
Yeah.
accident. I mean, I'm going on 9 years, but I'm still learning so much about it. And I'm
Mhm.
still learning to really conceptualize my experience and vocalize that and share it with others. And so I had started kind of my spiritual journey, I'll say, because I started working with Reiki probably about like 10 months prior to the accident. So I was just starting to get into this world. And that alone, to go back to the beginning when I was saying that, I grew up with a lot of self-doubt and not believing in myself. But that really started to shift when I started getting into spirituality and also when I adopted a plant-based diet and just getting in with
Mhm.
another, community of people because I started to realize that, hey, if everything is energy and I am energy as well, maybe I am part of the whole. And so I am worth something. So that shift in itself really started having me think differently about myself and who I am and that I like where I belonged in the world. And then I feel like when my accident happened, then it just kind of like everything just became so much more impactful for me. And it's like, it was truly seeing that experience and really understanding that, oh, I am a part of this world, the unique experience that I had in my coma, like then it just kind of all came full circle. And it was almost like an affirmation for what I had been learning prior to that moment. And so again, this is just me talking right now,
Yeah.
I didn't rehearse anything. This is the first time it's coming out because I'm still learning about it like as I move forward and I'm just discovering more things about it as I continue to share.
Well, have you thought too, like, where would I be today if that didn't happen? What would I be doing
Hmm.
if the
Yeah.
accident did happen? Or why did it happen?
Yeah. I mean, I ask both of those. Sometimes I'll catch myself if I'm having a down moment again, because we all have down moments. Even though I have this moment, we still got down moments. And so sometimes I do think like, oh, what would I have done if I honestly, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be back in Northern Ontario if like none of that happened.
Hmm.
And so ultimately, whenever I start thinking about that, I am so in love with everything that I've created and everything that I've achieved that nothing compares. And I think, yeah, although like that would have been great if this wouldn't have happened, and I can kind of see, like, think of the trajectory that I would have been on. I'm like, nah, I'll take this over any day though. Like, even to have to go through what I went through, like,
Mm.
yeah, I would do it all over again just to be able to get here because I'm really like I love where I am right now and I love the understanding and even the connections that I've made so far. Like I would not have made any of that had it not it been for this experience. Um, and then sorry, what was your second one?
Okay, so where do you think you would be today
Yeah.
if that wouldn't have happened? And oh, look, now we're gonna be like, oh, what was the other question? Um, but
Yeah.
do you look at it and say, oh, maybe that happened because I was playing small, or God has a bigger purpose for me,
Yes, yeah,
like
yeah,
that?
yeah. So
Okay.
I do still think about that. I do. Honestly, I do. Okay. And I'm gonna say this. I haven't really said this. I think I may have said this once, but I don't remember if it was on a podcast or what platform it was on. It was the strangest thing. All right. I'm just starting to rethink about this again.
Yeah.
So, when I had started my spiritual journey and I had gotten a pendulum, right? The pendulum that you hold
Yeah.
and you can, yeah. So, I started doing that. And my community was like, whatever you do, don't ask your pendulum when you're going to die. Like that's not an appropriate question to ask your pendulum. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But I mean, tell me not to do something and I'm going
Oh
to do it.
no.
So I was like, I'm going to do this. And so I had asked it And I'm just piecing this together now because when I had done it and I said, am I going to die? It said yes. And I said, when? And it said this year. And I was like, I'm going to put this away. So I put it
Yeah.
away. I didn't want to touch it anymore. And then my accident happened. So now I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, wait. So did something? No, something new. The energies in the universe, like, did they know something was going to happen? And so was there a bigger plan for it? And then when I think of just how, I'm going to say, for lack of a better word, smoothly
Yeah.
everything went. So the car accident happened. Um, my car was destroyed. I was immediately gotten out of there, but the truck who had hit me drove off home that night. Now, I'm not saying they didn't have any repercussions from the accident,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
were able to get back in their truck and drive back home. The ambulance had come 4 minutes after someone called it, only 4 minutes. So, and even before that, 2 cars down from the accident was a student who, a medical, what do you call it? A medical student, a paramedic, fire student. So he had ran out right away. And because he knew how to handle people in these accidents, he held my neck in place right away. And I was told that if he didn't do that, where you broke your neck, the next bone is the one that would have paralyzed you waist down. So the only reason that you are not paralyzed waist down or neck down, sorry, is because he held your neck in place. And
Oh,
when the ambulance got there, within 4 minutes, they induced coma right away because they were like, we're losing her because I was declining so quickly. And so when I think about just how everything was coordinated and
mhm.
everything happened right at the right time, like right at the last minute, why? So this is kind of the question that I'm reflecting on lately.
Yeah. Wow. You are a miracle.
Yeah.
And I just look at that and I just know that you have a bigger purpose. And maybe you wouldn't have seen that. That's what I feel like, don't you? You
Mm-hmm,
wouldn't,
mm-hmm.
yeah, because you're doing the thing, doing the thing. You were going to college. You were in college at the time?
Yeah, I had taken a break, but
Okay.
I still was in it. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you were a little unsure of your path maybe or what? Like what was
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a very interesting time. I was actually, so I had a Bachelor of Business Administration degree, uh, diploma at that time. I was pursuing my degree, so I was going to get my BBA. I had stopped in year 3, and then I decided to take a break to figure out, like, okay, what is it that I really want? And then I started managing a health food store, and I was on my way to become a holistic nutritionist at the time. And then, there was family issues, not with my own, but with my partner at the time. And so that's why we ultimately had to move and come back to Northern Ontario because he's from here. And so that's why we came back. So I was kind of like going on another path, having different interests, wanting to go more into like the holistic kind of healing routes, but that wasn't exactly clear on what it was just yet. And so I feel like, would I be here without having had went through the accident and all of that? No. Specifically, even if I was teaching in some sort of healing modality or spirituality, because it was kind of my path, I wouldn't know it to the depths of how I know it right now.
Mhm.
And the belief that I have now, or the conviction that we're literally creating our life, this became so apparent to me. And I have so much certainty in that I would not have had I had not went through this experience.
Gosh. Wow. We're really bringing some stuff out here. We didn't even plan any
Yeah,
of this, but I'm going to
we
tell
didn't
you
plan.
what.
No,
We
you
did
said
we?
you wanted it raw.
Yeah, that's right. We are raw and
Yeah.
real. And I only want you to talk about what you feel like you should talk about too. But I mean, before this we were talking about beliefs. And
Mhm.
so I mean, I would say that it took confidence and a lot of confidence to get where you're at today too. And probably part of your journey has been, we were talking about beliefs, changing your beliefs and all that. Don't you think that you wouldn't have been playing as big, maybe?
Hmm.
Should I be say?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that for sure. Can I give context? Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I
Yes.
just want to share a little, because I mentioned it
Yeah.
already, a little bit of the coma, but I want to talk about this specific experience, because it reminds me now in recent years. So having spoken to avid meditators, or you hear of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work when he talks about like that infinite field where you're no body, no thing, right? You're just all of it. And so when I was in that coma, though I didn't see anything, it was just darkness, but I knew who I was. And I wasn't Jessica. I wasn't 5'7". I wasn't brown hair, but I was all of it. It was almost as if you were to like put pencils together and just color every single color. You'd get this real darkness. So it was this sense of fullness, but also this sense of emptiness. Like it was like this sense of knowing like there was anything on demand. Like it was just this beautiful, peaceful and bliss state. I felt so good. I felt so confident. I felt like so sure. And I reflected on that coming out of the coma.
Yeah.
And this comes into beliefs a little bit, like because we don't really know for certain where we're going after we die. And I don't believe
Mhm.
that I'm going back to that place in specific. It'll be somewhere
Mhm.
else. But if that's something at all similar, and this is what I thought to myself, if this is where I am going or somewhere similar to it, then I can't get anything wrong in this life. There is nothing that I can do that is going to be so bad that I'm going to fail so hard that I will not be accepted into this place. This is where I'm going. I am infinite. And so this life is an experience. And so I can do whatever I want in this life because my future, where I'm going, my existence is secure. And so this is a playground. What do I want to do? What do I want to create? That's really the sense that I had felt when I was in that hospital. So I had like two big pivotal moments, like in the hospital, but I just sitting there looking outside and reflecting. And that was one of them too. Just this overall sense of peace and acceptance for this experience. And so then whatever came my way, whatever challenge I was facing, even the challenge, like you'll never return to work, you'll never go back to work, like go back to school, don't go running. That was what I was told. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go running. Don't go skiing. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go skiing. So like everything that I was given, and I'm not saying everybody
Yeah.
should do
Right, right,
this, but I'm
right.
just saying where I was
Yeah.
like, we're going to do that. Okay. Like challenge accepted. Like this is what I'm doing because I can do anything. And I'm not saying this as like conceit. And I want to preface, it needs we all need a certain sense of healing when we want to be like get to the point where hey, I could do anything. You want to make sure that you're with
Yeah.
pure intent. Ultimately, we as humans, we're loving beings. And so I really don't believe nobody would want to do anything to intentionally harm another human
Mhm.
being or any
Mhm.
other form of life for that matter. Like once we recognize that we're all of it, we just want the best for everyone. And we can literally do anything that we feel good. When we feel good, we elevate others. And so it just gave me this overall sense of, I'm going to say confidence, really confidence
Mhm.
in who I am. And so I can do whatever I want in this experience because I'm the creator of it. And again, where I'm going is secure.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you guys, that was awesome. Okay, we're all like ready to be like, I can do anything.
Yes,
And we were
yes.
talking early before we got started here, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna edit these
Mhm.
my podcast. I'm like, who says I have to? I want people to
Exactly.
hear. This is like, okay, to me, it's compared. Okay, we think we need to do this. Everybody's podcasts sound so good and so perfect. And I was like, you remember me how long ago? 6 months, a year ago, I was like, oh, I can't do a podcast. That's way too much work.
Hmm.
And now I'm like,
Doesn't we
no,
were
actually, I'm being called to this. I don't know why. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out one way or another. But it can look the
Mhm.
way that I want it to. It doesn't have to look like everybody else. We don't have to do what everybody else is doing. And especially on social media, and we have all these, edited photos and everybody looks so perfect,
Mhm.
but we're not. But we're not
Mhm.
perfect. We're made just the way that we are. And that is so, I think that's part of life, is just waking up and saying, this is me. This is your authentic self,
Mhm.
being your
Absolutely.
authentic self. And sometimes you don't know, I think, what that looks like. We don't know really everything that we want to accomplish in life, right?
Mhm.
It's one day at a time and one step at a time,
Yeah,
right? I can't,
absolutely.
what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
exactly. I just want to echo what you're saying, in that it really doesn't have to be the way that we think that everybody else is doing it. So this is the way. I think even with social media, when we look, we seem to forget what is really governing life right now.
Mm.
And it's not the external, it's energy. If you're Roberta,
Yeah.
if you're showing up and then you're
Yeah.
beautifully curating everything and editing everything, you're losing the energy. You're losing the
Yeah.
raw authenticity of it. And that's what people are looking for. And so I think it's doing everybody a service when we could just put something raw. We could just be our natural selves, because we are calling out those people who need to be in this energy right now, who are receptive to it. It's all, people who are going to resonate with this message. But we can end up losing that when we keep things so beautifully cookie cutter cut
Mhm.
and perfect, right? Polished. We lose that sense. So when we could just tune back in to be like, no, wait, it's energy. We're playing in this life on, it's a body of energy. That's it. So we can think that outside things actually matter, but it's the energy that matters. And when we show up in that energy, we are, a beacon of light for those that need to hear it. And so this is why I love what you're doing. And I love the
Mhm.
idea of just raw and authentic, because again, you're being a beacon for those that need to be here today and need to hear this message.
Yes, thank you. And you can choose to do it any way you want. And
Mhm.
you might
Exactly.
hear, as we were getting started, I go, well, they decided to mow outside my apartment here. Can't,
Yeah.
okay. So you might hear that in the background, but guess what? That's life.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
life. I mean, I want this to look good and sound good and all of that, but it's not going to be perfect. I don't speak perfect English. This is me. So
Right.
thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. Oh my gosh, this is so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah,
And you mentioned, if I could just go back for a moment, because you mentioned that you wanted to talk a little bit about
yeah.
the beliefs. And
Thank you.
right
Yes.
before you hit
Yes.
record, we were talking about the beliefs and
Yeah.
this new idea that I've been having recently. And it's like our beliefs shape our life, right? Whatever we believe to be true will be true. And when we recognize that we're the focal point in our life, everything is coming through us because we are the awareness behind everything. Like when we see something, we're only aware of it because it's triggering something within us. And then once we compute it in our minds, we're spitting it back out. The definition, the qualification, the perception, like everything is coming through us. And so our beliefs are shaping our world. There's not one person in the world today that is living this same reality as us, because our beliefs are shaping it. And when we recognize that, then we can challenge what we believe, challenge the world that we're living. So, Roberta, challenge that. Well, wait a second, who says I need to start a podcast like this? I'm going to do something else. Can you just, jump on another belief? I'm like a timeline jump. Like, why do we need to
Yeah.
believe this? And when we understand that everything is just belief, whatever you want to create in your life, it's just a belief away. It's just one shift a belief away, a few other shifts to create, massive changes in your life. But it's absolutely possible. We're just playing with the beliefs that we're holding on our minds.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so beautiful. Thank you. You know, we just, oh gosh, my mind just went everywhere with all of this. This is so good. Um, you're amazing.
Mm, thank you. I always love our conversations.
I know, I do too. We can never stop. We
I
could
know.
go on forever, you guys. This we went through what we went through because we which we all have a story to tell. And, some of us haven't been through what you've been through. And it does take confidence and courage and believing in yourself to do these things and to try one thing and say, you know what? I mean, that was fine, but I'm doing a little shift now. I'm going to do this and that. And that is it's just so beautiful that you do that. And you have really helped so many people already, I know. And keep telling your story. Keep getting yourself
Mhm.
out there because people really need to hear this. Um, it's hard for people probably to look at you. You're so beautiful and so put together, and we would never understand the things that you've been through. So, keep telling that. Keep talking about those things and what you've been through because I think if we don't do that, they look at where we're at today and say, "Oh wow, well they've always been that way."
Mm.
And I've come a long way myself too. And if it wasn't for the contrast in my life, I know I would not be here today. I wouldn't be on here. And that's why I want people to know too that it's never too late to do what you want to do. And is there
Mhm.
anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, I kind of just want to reiterate what you're saying, Roberta, and that yeah, if not everybody, I mean, not everybody's going to experience the extent to what we experience, but what we experience
Mm.
is exactly what we need. And whatever it
Yeah.
is that we only experience it because we are able to overcome it. And I believe it's kind of, I kind of joke, I have a friend who recently broke an ankle and we were kind of joking about it later that like, oh, we're so hard-headed that like we needed a car accident or a biking accident to get a broken ankle to actually start to shift on the right track, right? And so I think we're all given what we can handle in life based on what we need at the time. And
Mhm.
of course, like there needs to be a certain period of healing before, because
Mhm.
had someone had told me that, maybe even though as in like, as positive thinking that I had at the time. If someone else at that moment were to tell me, like, oh, but this is for a reason, though, and like this is going to be good for you, I probably would have been like, no, let me tell you where to go.
Right.
Because I
Right.
needed to figure that out on my own.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
we're each on our own journey. But when you're at that point, I really believe that we can all take a step back and look back almost with the sense of not
Mhm.
complete gratitude, but sort of some sort of gratitude, for lack of better terms, again, of just for the experience to have shaped you and brought you to where you are now, which ultimately, I think everything that we've experienced in life, all of the hardships that we've experienced and overcome, it is almost our duty or our
Mhm.
responsibility to share it with the others in the world today, because we're all connected and we're all elevating each other. Not one of us goes up alone. We all go up together. And so it's really just this whole sharing our experiences and elevating one another, and whatever it is that we experience, someone else needs to hear that. Someone else needs to, have your story motivate them. And so yeah, I just want to let
Mhm.
everybody know that whatever challenge you are facing in life, it doesn't matter the extent of it, it's all an individual learning. And when you get to a place of healing, if you allow yourself to explore the deeper meaning and pull out the learning from there, I mean, that's when, true healing for the world, consciousness
Yeah.
elevation could occur at that time.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Where can people find you if
Yeah.
they want to reach out? How can you help others? How are you helping?
Yeah. So I have a lot of information on my Empower from Within podcast. So I
Yeah.
interview different coaches, such as yourself, Roberta. So
Yes.
happy that you were on there. Other healers. coaches, authors, all sharing information on how you could empower yourself to live your greatest life. And so that's Empower from Within. I also have a private Facebook community where I share similar information. I go on live every Wednesday to share an EFT tapping meditation with everybody in the group. And I also offer one-on-one sessions. So we can do single sessions for specific EFT tappings, hypnosis, or subconscious reprogrammings, as well as a group membership. And I just recently launched a program called Just Launch. If anybody feels inclined to share their story, to share their message, to launch their own podcast, this is what this container is all for. It really incorporates mindset to help people overcome any of those little self-doubt, the limiting beliefs that are blocking them from just get the podcast out there, just
Right.
launch it. It's all energy. Just do it. Feels good. Do it.
Yep.
And I share all of the information of what I did to do it to really help people share their message. I think the world really needs that right now.
Mhm.
So your
Mhm.
message needs to be shared. And it's really such an honor to be able to help people to do that. And so they can find all of that information on my website at trezorhouse.ca. And they can find me on Instagram as well at trezorhouse.ca.
Okay. And we'll have all this information for them to see as well. So thank you so much. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
You are such an inspiration. I know that everyone feels very empowered and because of this, because of your story. And so thank you again. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And, you know, if you want to learn how to live an extraordinary life, raw and real, unleash her, you can also
Yes.
reach out to me for my VIP coaching program. And let's just talk. And I like to leave this instead of saying goodbye. It's so funny. I've really felt this from within, but my grandma would never say goodbye. I guess she just didn't like goodbyes. And so
Mhm.
instead of goodbye, I leave this with a so long until next time.
Till next time.